Here are the 5 biggest mistakes that I see people making on a sales call that's preventing them from closing and making more money, and how you can avoid them. Let's get right into it. The number one biggest thing is people don't ask enough questions, or they ask the wrong kinds of questions. Instead, they just want to advise their clients on what to do. So they become an expert, and no one likes to talk to an expert, because before a client will hire you, they need to understand, do you recognize me? Do you understand me? Do you understand my problem? Do you understand my wants and needs, my fears and hopes? Do you understand the problem well enough before you start selling me? And we all have this allergic reaction. When someone meets us, they reach out their hand and they're trying to sell to us immediately or giving us advice. Even if it's really good advice, it's a turnoff for most of us. There's always exceptions to the rule, unless you're a really well-respected thought leader and authority in a space where everyone comes to you for advice, then you could make that assumption. But even still, I'd strongly encourage you to ask more questions and to be slower to giving advice. Now, not all questions are created equal, despite what your 3rd grade school teacher told you. And there are such things as dumb questions. How do I know? I get dumb questions all the time. Let's try and figure out what makes for a good question and what makes for a dumb question. And I asked this to get you to think before I tell you. So play along with me and see if you can guess. Okay. And sometimes when we think about what makes for a really great question, if we just think about what makes for a really bad question, it'll illuminate that, because all we have to do is do the inverse of what a really bad question is. What is a bad question for you? Well, a bad question is one that's leading, that's predetermined in terms of what the answer is supposed to be. Like a question that says, would you like to eat spaghetti for dinner? First of all, you're assuming that I'm hungry, that I want to eat dinner, that I want to eat spaghetti. And you're driving me down a chute that says I must answer in the affirmative, or I might risk alienating you or offending you. And these are the kinds of questions people ask all the time. They're binary and they're leading. So what kind of question should you ask? You should ask an open question that is directed towards something that you want to learn from a person. So you could say something like, if you were to have dinner tonight and hungry, what kind of food would you prefer? So this puts them in a state of like, okay, so if I want to eat dinner and if I'm hungry, what is it that I want? And so by asking this kind of question, you can get a peek into the prospect's mind. And from that, you should just keep asking more and more questions until it becomes super clear, which leads me to sales mistake number 2 is people who ask questions but don't actually listen. So listening is an art, and most of us are really poor listeners. And we're afraid to play back what we heard to confirm with the other person, because we're afraid that we might get it wrong. Actually, if you get something wrong, this is an opportunity for the prospect or the client to correct you so that you have the right information, so you're not building on assumptions that are wrong. So learning how to listen. Here's what I recommend that you do. Instead of making and keeping eye contact, which is what many people are told to do during a sales conversation, to give the clients your undivided attention, what I would suggest that you do is to keep a notebook and write down what they're saying. This signals to the client that I'm paying careful attention, almost as if I'm reporting whatever it is that you're saying, like you're the most important person. Your words matter so much, I must scribe them in a notebook, not leave it to chance that my memory is going to correctly recall what it is that you said. And when we play back, we should say something like, what I heard you say was you need X by Y and you have a problem with Z. Is that correct? So I'm summarizing what the client had said, and whenever possible, I'm paraphrasing key concepts and even the language in which they use to let them know I'm not misinterpreting. I'm not trying to change what it is they said. I'm just recording. And if you are able to listen and ask better questions, you don't even need to hear the other 3 tips, but focus on this. So many people screw this up. Now, before I tell you what these 3 other mistakes to avoid in sales, comment below what your biggest fear about having a sales call with a client is. All right, back to the video. Mistake number 3 is related to the first 2, which is the desire to close too early. You have an agenda, you want to get the business, and so you're so eager for the business that it doesn't even appear to the client that you're concerned about listening to them or wanting to solve a problem based on their individual needs and wants. I had a person come up to me after a workshop that I did many years ago, and they said, Chris, great workshop. When are you going to hire me? I was like, whew, how about you take me out on a date first? When am I going to hire you? I didn't even know I liked you. I didn't know I was hiring, and I don't even know what you're qualified for. But I know people say this as a joke, but it makes it super uncomfortable for me. And I'm just trying to illustrate and emphasize what some of you do. And when you try to sell too early in life and in relationships and in business, all things are the same. It says I'm desperate and I'm self-interested. There's something that I want to get, and it doesn't really matter what you want or what you're interested in. So avoid trying to close too early. Mistake number 4, you have no filter. Anybody with a heartbeat and some money to spend, you'll take on as a client. It's really important for you to be able to say, you're a good fit for us. us or you're a poor fit for us. And in order to be able to do that, you need to know under what conditions will you accept a client's money. Well, the first thing is, can you deliver value to them? Would it give you joy to take on this project? Do you like this person? Is the budget and the timeline appropriate for the things that they're wanting? Because oftentimes our need to make money, to keep the lights on, to pay rent, supersedes our ability to filter out poor fits. And what it's also saying is, I have no standards, I'm not discriminating enough, and I'm not probably someone that you can trust. Notice how the highest paid people in the world are not only highly specialized in what they do, that is a form of a filter. Notice how the most sought after people are able to charge the most amount of money and to be able to have a long wait list for people who want to work with them. What is it they're doing? They're creating sometimes artificial and real filters or barriers in order to be able to work with them. And it makes us want to work with them even more. So by being more selective and being more discriminatory, you're going to create the desire in the client's mind that this person doesn't need me, doesn't want my business, yet they still want to work with me. I trust them a little bit more. And the next mistake is people use the wrong tone of voice. It's not something that we're super mindful of, especially in everyday conversation. We're not paying particular attention to the words that we choose and being intentional in the tone in which we deliver. You'll notice that if I were to speak really fast, I'm going to do that in a second, and you're going to see my energy change just by changing the speed in which I talk. So hey everybody, I'm super excited to see you here today. I have something to talk to you about, and I think you can get a lot of value. These are 5 mistakes that people make. What's it creating inside your mind just listening to this? Your heart rate might be going up. You're going to start to feel really anxious because why is Chris talking so fast at me right now? Is there something that he wants? Is a house on fire? Is he desperate to get out of here? Is he in a rush? And those things signal to the client that for the wrong reasons, you're not the person to trust. Instead, try to master your tone of voice. Chris Voss talks about in his book, Never Split the Difference, about the late night FM DJ voice. Speak in slow, low tone of voice. Take lots of breaths and it'll calm people down. Imagine you're driving down the PCH on a beautiful moonlit night and the smooth jazz FM DJ voice comes on. You're cruising down the PCH, listening to K-Jazz 101. Hoping you have an amazing night tonight. This shout out goes to all the lovers out there. And it just puts you at ease. So if you can speak from a lower register, slow your voice down, it calms the other person down. You'll notice too, if somebody's really angry and you speak to them in a slow, calm, deliberate voice, it starts to calm them down. And if you want somebody to get really excited about something, you start to speed up your voice. You might even change your pitch and intonation. In sales, if there's anxiety, if there's stress, people are less likely to trust you and then therefore less likely to buy from you. So don't do any of these 5 mistakes when you're trying to close a job. Okay, thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. That helps us a tremendous amount. And I hope these tips helped you and to close a job. And when you do, be sure you come back to this channel and comment and tell us your victory story because we'll all applaud you. That's it for me. See you next time.